Hey there, and welcome to dig number 2 of the Soul of an Artist Excavation. So today we're going to do a couple little canvases again, 4x12 canvases from Michaels. And I am not a spokesperson. I just like to tell you guys where I get stuff, and I don't have an affiliate and I don't want to set one up right now. So if I come across like I'm advertising for people, I'm really not. I just want you to know where to get everything. So now these are all paper clay little tiles that I made a long time ago with rust paint on them, and I have quite an array in here. Some are just gold paint, so I want to use some of these on this piece today, and I'm not sure which ones. I'll decide that as we go. And then I love this. This is Reflections. It's a gold flecks that I get at Michael's as well. And I'd like to add a bit of bling to these pieces. And then, of course, I've got a couple beautiful little skeleton leaves that I want to incorporate into this. And this is a really fun thing that you can do. These are some photographs I took in late autumn this year of some very dried out plants on my walks with my dogs. I like to just take my phone, and you can easily shoot with your phone. And if you have a nice camera, of course, you can use either. So now this image here, clearly it went together like that. And these canvases are so narrow that this just overtakes the whole canvas. So I decided to go ahead and tear this in half so that I could kind of, you know, your mind will connect them in the painting, but I wanted to break it up just to have more balance. And then here's this lovely little image as well. These little flower blossoms grow wild in my area here in Colorado. It'd be nice if I could get it in frame for you. And they photograph beautifully. These also eco-dye beautifully, and I'm not sure what these are. If you know, oh, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to know what these are. So I just think they're beautiful, and I know that they're non-toxic because I eco-dye with them. I started eco-dyeing with them recently. So now I've got some linen colored tissue paper from my other video, and then I've got some dryer sheets here that I painted, and I haven't worked with these yet, so tearing it, I'm seeing, is giving me a big mess and a lot of loose textile fibers, which is really lovely. And I also wanted to see how this would come out if I just went ahead and cut it. So yeah, you'll get a really raw edge. And if you don't want to tear it and have the mess, you can always cover the raw edge with a leaf or something else. So what I did with these is I went ahead and used them, and I like to use my dryer sheets on a couple loads of laundry, and so you get rid of all of that product in there that makes it so that your clothes aren't staticky. You know what I'm saying. I want all of those chemicals or whatever that is out as much as possible. Let me show it to you like this. And then you just simply run over it with some paint, and you end up with these gorgeous little elements for collage here. And then I've got some more. This is some rice paper from that same fun video. And I will go ahead and link this below in the description box. real quick, let's talk reds and rust colors for a minute. Now, this is the true shade of this Deco Art Antique Maroon color. This is it in its truest form. This is this color mixed, as you saw, with the raw umber, which is a brownish, and the bleach sand. Now, anytime you use a red paint, wet on wet with any browns, creams, or whites, you are going to end up with shades of pink. Now, a lot of shades of pink, let me move these, get rid of those shadows. A lot of shades of pink are very beautiful, and you can get really beautiful shades of pink depending on the tone of red or like rust that you use. So, but here's the difference, and this is what happens. So if you don't want pink, but you want this color, you have to do your base, like do your brown and your cream base, and then go over top with this wet. I'm just going to use my little metal scraper. This is called a Japan scraper. It is a higher end tool, but you don't need this. Any kind of palette knife will do, or little old gift card. That's what I usually like to use. But let's just do a little bit of this, because we're going to knock it way, way back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk while I work on this project, and today I'm excited to share the first of quite a number of angel stories with you. Now, two separate events happened within this story, so let's get into it. When I was around 5 or 6 years old, I lived in a little townhouse, and I was playing outside, and these two little boys came up and grabbed me. They were probably 9 or 10 years old. They were much bigger than I was, but they dragged me over to the dumpster. We lived in this U-shaped building full of townhouses, and I lived on the end close to the street, and the dumpster was in the U part of the U shape. So they dragged me all the way from in front of my house over there and threw me in the dumpster. And it was really scary for me at the time, very scary, as you can imagine. And then every time I tried to climb out, I would put my little hands over the edge of the dumpster and try to climb up and climb out. They had like this long piece of rubber trash, and they kept hitting my hands with it. So this went on for just a few minutes, not very long at all. I really can't remember. It's been so many years, but it was really, really scary. And not being able to get out was, I remember just being so afraid of that. Well, then I heard this loud booming voice. This guy started yelling at these boys, and they ran off, and he came over and plucked me out of the dumpster and carried me to my door. And of course, I was very upset and crying, but he saved me. He stopped all of that from happening and brought me home. Now, the second thing that happened was I lived in the same place, and this time there was a little sidewalk out around the back of my townhome, and I was riding my little trike. And I love this Martha Stewart color, by the way, you guys. It's the light gold. It's so pretty. I just wanted to add a little bling to this, and I'll talk about the project as we go too. So I was riding my little trike out back, and these two Dobermans came up and knocked me off of my trike. And I was very little. I didn't know how to ride a two-wheeler yet. So, and I learned that I think around 7. But they knocked me off my trike, and all I can remember is how dark it became. They were hovering over me and sniffing me and making their dog sounds, and I was just so little. I was really terrified of them. And another guy showed up in this story too. It was a totally different man than the first story. But yet again, I had this guy show up, and he ran the dogs off, and he scraped me up off the ground. and carried me home crying once again. And, nobody was to blame for this. I was playing very close to home and my family was in the house. But it just really does go to show you how fast things can happen, very, very fast. But, I realized from these two things that, not all angels come in the form of an ethereal being with wings. You know what I'm saying? These two men showed up and they were my angels exactly when I needed them to be in my life. They showed up, they saved me, and they brought me home to safety, and they totally did the right thing. And I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back a few years later, as I got older, it really taught me this lesson that, we are angels for each other. And isn't that just a beautiful way to look at life? And so, for many, many years of my life, most of it, thanks to those two men, I have looked at life in that way. God has always put angels on my path, and some of them have been animals, and some of them have been human, and even some of them have been ethereal beings. So we get them in all these different forms. And, if you're a believer in angels like I am, congrats, because I think it's such a beautiful way to look at the world and a beautiful way to live. And I'm sure if if you haven't really thought about this topic or really given it much time or anything like that, maybe think back of all the events in your life and when that certain someone showed up right as you needed them, and they, made life so much better and so much easier for you in that moment. Now, I'm not saying that bad things don't happen. Of course they do. And amazingly, both of these stories, they could have been a lot worse than they were. And lucky for me, they weren't. And I've had a lot of really scary things happen after those two events, too. But, I really do believe that we have these beings put on our path, and we are the beings put on someone else's path as well when they need us. So this is really a two-way street. But just to let you know also, this is my first voiceover, and so I'm editing this as I go, and I'm finding that the sound control is different because when I was speaking earlier in the video, my mic was hooked up to my camera and now it's hooked up to my computer. So I'm going to get better at this voiceover. I just wanted to make a quick little comment about that. But back to the angel things. I want to give you a little baseline about me. I am not a religious person. I just organized religion just does not work for me. And but I do believe in God and I love God and I talk with God every day. So that's where I'm coming from on my spiritual belief spectrum. And, I believe that there's millions of paths that we can take spiritually. And I think that everybody's path is, we each have the right to choose a path that works for us and that feels right to us. And so I'm just sharing my experiences with you. And, you know, all of these things that I'm talking about in this excavation are going to be things that you're going to be like, oh, you're going to remember so many things. And then there's going to be other things that are right on the top of your memory that, but I just think it's going to be this fun little adventure that we can take together doing this. So, those men taught me that angels come in many, many forms. And, this is not an angel piece of artwork, but to me it kind of is because the botanicals in here are little angel beings. You know, they're these little beings of light created by spirit that are part of our world here, part of our physical reality, and they're just so beautiful. I love to work with botanicals, be it real botanicals or photographs. So I hope you enjoyed that little story. And, you know, the other angel stories I have, I wanted to tell this one first because it creates the baseline for all the other ones that are going to be coming soon. This is such a new thing for me to do these voiceovers. So, like I commented a couple minutes ago, I just put some foam core on these images to pop them up and kind of separate them from the rest of the collage. And I like to do this. I do this often in my mixed media artwork because it definitely for one thing, my guy Greg just loves the look of that three-dimensional element. So, and it just gives you, you know, a little bit more depth. It adds a little bit more interest to your piece. So speaking of Greg, he's my guy. We've been together almost 21 years. And I have to say, the last dig I did, the very first one, you know, I did not give him credit where he deserves it. And this man helps me set up every exhibit I do. And he sees all the artwork I create because when he gets home at night, you know, we get to play show and tell. And he gets a little tired of that at times. But he has always been supportive of me and my artistic life. And my father and brother, when they are in town, they check out what I'm doing too. So I realize all these people are biased, right? But they all still count just the same. So right here now, I'm just doing some dry brushing. And this is so that, you know, those pieces of collage are so dark and they really look slapped on right now because they are. Well, this is a good way to make the piece all come together is what I'm trying to say. So those dark pieces, and if you use a color that you've already used in your artwork, it's going to come together just fine. Even though that color has been completely blended in with two other colors, it's still going to work out beautifully. That's part of the magic of color. And we're going to be talking a lot about color over this whole year here because color is so you know, I mean, it's one of the most important elements of artwork is color. And, you know, I am very attracted to these earth tones, as I always say. But look at that. Now I'm even going over, I went over the skeleton leaf a little bit too with that bleached sand color. But it just helps to kind of pull the pieces in and fuse them all to the artwork. Now, I love to ink my edges on papers, as you saw I did with all the images earlier, but I really love to ink the edges of my canvases as well too. And then I'm doing the sides here just to grunge them up and give them that really aged kind of look. And, you know, this is one of those little tiny details that when you're looking at the piece, you don't necessarily notice it, but it definitely adds to the finished look of it. So now we're adding some of this gold flecks, and this stuff is just, I really like the way it looks. It's not glitter, it's a little bit thicker as I get the glue off my finger. Um, there it is. It's a little bit thicker than glitter, and I like that because glitter is even shinier than this stuff. I don't know how to describe it. This just has more of an elegant look to it to me. And I like to just strategically place it here and there in my pieces. So I hope you guys are liking this excavation so far. I'm really enjoying the two projects that I've done so far. Now, these are very involved and they require a ton of editing. And, I edit my work because I don't want you guys to sit through all the little things that, I forget my glue bottle. I don't want you to have to sit here for 3 or 4 minutes waiting for me to get my glue bottle. I just don't have time for that in my life. And so I pretty much treat everybody like they're me when it comes to that kind of stuff. If I don't want to sit through it, chances are good you don't want to sit through it. So editing is important to me. And I think the voiceovers are going to help a lot too, because I really don't want hour-long videos. I just want you guys to be able to see the artwork and hear the stories, and I'm liking how this is working out because I can watch the artwork, I can watch me put my signature on, and I don't have to worry about holding up the project because I'm busy talking. So this was in the comments, and I want to thank you guys for all your feedback. And I'm really excited to build this voiceover skill here and to continue forward with it. So thanks for all the comments. And I had one gal say, you could talk for 5 hours, and that made me feel so good. Thank you for that comment. But I'm not going to put you guys through 5 hours of me talking, at least not in one sitting. So here these are all done, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I sure enjoyed being here with you today, and I will see you next week. Have a great day.